Hi everyone. When you are looking at a puppy, or especially a Yorkie, everybody is pretty concerned about size. And everyone always asks me, how much do they weigh? And I make a point never to lie about their weight. I always usually even will go and do videos and have the scale set at 0 and then put the puppy on the scale so that people know exactly what the size is and that I'm being honest. But I just want to talk about evaluating that and estimating weight. We need to know not just the parent size, but the grandparents. If you know the great-grandparents or the great-great-grandparents, that's even better, because genetics go 5 generations back is generally what you can see come out in your puppies. So we don't worry just about the parents. So breeders who have been breeding a long time, usually they know these things. So they have a much better idea of what their parents are going to produce and what that's going to look like. Now, something that people don't really understand when I'm telling them a weight is that, look at this puppy. She has pretty short legs, probably standard length of back, I would say is probably pretty normal. She's got that short nose. If you look at her little belly, she has a pretty big, a lot of times like a pot belly because she loves to eat. If I feel right here and I feel her body, she is fat and stout. She has a lot of body fat on her. So generally when they reach maturity, a lot of times as they grow, they'll lose the baby fat and they'll gain length in their bone. But sometimes too, if you look at her body frame, it's really compact. It's quite compact. So at adulthood, she might weigh 3.5 pounds, but you also might have a Yorkie like this that at adulthood also weighs 3.5 pounds, but has super tall legs and a long torso, but is super skinny and just doesn't have a lot of mass to their frame. So there is a big difference. I do generally tell people a little bit smaller on my weights if I know that they're going to be compact and take up less space. They're just going to be heavier because it's in their genetics to be a little bit more thickly built, which is going to make up that weight. I personally don't care much for a long, tall Yorkie that's extremely skinny and as an adult that still weighs a small weight. I would rather have a thickly built, little, strong, tiny Yorkie that has, you know, some body fat on it, but that has the shorter frame and body that still might get to be that 3 pounds or 3.5 pounds, but looks in size frame a much smaller. So those are some things that are, you know, you have to consider when you are asking breeders for those weights and wanting to go chart that puppy. And especially on this tiny, sometimes I send weights right after they've eaten, and I don't ever restrict their food. So sometimes they've eaten a lot of food, and that does make a difference on the charting when we're talking about such tiny puppies. Another size indicator is their paw size. If they have big paws that they haven't look like they need to grow into them, that's an indicator that they're going to get big. So like this little girl, if I look at her paws, if she'll let me, she just wants to play right now. But that's fine, huh? Look how tiny. Let's see. Just, I mean, not even the size of my thumb. She's so little. So those are some things to consider, you know, when size and you think that that weight that the breeder texts you is, you know, everything. Look at their body frame, you know, look at their frame. Are they fat, or are they like, are you going to end up with a Yorkie that has super long legs and a long body, but hey, it's only 3 pounds, but it still may look like a 4 to 5 pound Yorkie because it's skinny. And that's all just genetics. So make sure that you talk to your breeder and that you ask them those questions and look at the frame of the parents. It's so important because we all want that tiny little purse puppy in a Yorkie. And, you know, Yorkies used to be bred, you know, a lot of years ago, 13-pound Yorkies were standard. And over the years, they've been bred down, and the AKC recognizes the YTCA as the parent club, and the parent club, the Yorkshire Terriers of America, is actually who sets the breed standard and says what size they should be.